All right, welcome to Authentic Creation Week 2. This is one of my favorite lessons because it goes into so many aspects of your life, and I call it the subconscious reel. And if you've read any of my posts or if you've been following me for a while, you've probably seen that I talk about programming a lot, which is something that we're going to be digging into today, and I'll explain why it's so important when we're trying to manifest and create all the things that we desire. So you know the drill. The first thing that we're going to do is ground. So hopefully you're in a place where you can close your eyes, relax, close your eyes and start breathing in. 3 seconds in, hold for 3 seconds, and out for 3 seconds. As you begin to do that, imagine tree roots or trunk coming out of the base of your spine, bottom of your feet, going down into the center of the earth. Once you feel grounded, you feel like you're being pulled to the earth, look up, and there is a golden white light coming out from the sky to the top of your head, filling your body, however you've been doing it for the past few webinars that we've had together, filling your cells, and your cells are starting to move together in unison. They're all happy and smiling, ready to receive the information today. Begin to spread that light outwards, and then add in the color that makes you feel abundant. Might be like eggshells cracking throughout your body, but also fill the outer circle of yourself with that color. Give yourself a good deep breath. Send that golden light back up to the sky. Your body is now full, and come back to me. So playing off of the alignment that we were talking about last week, we're going to continue to dive deeper into, really it's kind of a fraction of alignment, and these factors are your subconscious reel and your programmed beliefs. Now it actually starts with your programmed beliefs, which then create your subconscious reel of the things that you're telling yourself that you don't realize consciously that you are telling yourself. We need to figure out what exactly it is that we're saying in those moments, unconsciously or in our subconscious mind, so that we can see what thought patterns we are sending out to the universe that we're not technically aware of. So playing off of the alignment that we were talking about last week, we're going to continue to dive deeper into, really it's kind of a fraction of alignment, and these factors are your subconscious reel and your programmed beliefs. Now it actually starts with your programmed beliefs, which then create your subconscious reel of the things that you're telling yourself that you don't realize consciously that you are telling yourself. We need to figure out what exactly it is that we're saying in those moments, unconsciously or in our subconscious mind, so that we can see what thought patterns we are sending out to the universe that we're not technically aware of. So as we talked about alignment's helped us in understanding what we're asking for and what we're truly trying to get to, what we really desire. Today, we're going to dive into all the avenues that our energy is currently going to, so we can see where is our subconscious thought patterns bringing us, and is that also in disalignment to our truest desires. So awareness is 75% of elimination in my mind when it comes to programming and your subconscious reel. Once you are aware of the story that you've been living by or the thought patterns that you have, you can begin to eliminate them, because once you see these patterns, you really know where your energy is going. So that's going to bring us one step closer to being a master manifester of our experience. So what we're solving today is this concept here. In an infinite universe of realities, why are you allowing yourself to be convinced of only one belief that is in direct contradiction of what you desire? So here's the thing, there are infinite possibilities all around us at all times, but we are programmed, and our subconscious reel tells us that in order to get this, it has to look like this, or in order to get this, or if we get this, then X, Y, and Z is also going to happen. Most of these things are not real. It's just like worrying. It does nothing good for you. So we want to start understanding them and then removing what's not serving us. Okay, so let's kind of bring ourselves into an example. Let's say that there's a $5 million home. It's got the beautiful cascading waterfall backyard. It's incredible. You want that. That's perfect. Great. Everything that you want is within reach. However, your alignment has to be in place and the belief has to be set that what you desire is obtainable. Because if you're desiring something right now that you're like, oh, it'd be so cool, but the only way I'm going to get that is if I win the lottery, then you're still making it an unattainable thought. So you're putting direct contradiction into what you're saying that you desire most. And we don't want that because, again, that's having energy going into two places. So right now, imagine what it is that you desire. Maybe it's a Rolls Royce. Maybe it's the perfect partner. Now, truly, be honest with yourself. If you were to get that thing right now, would you be worrying about it? Would you actually be happy with it? If you had the Rolls Royce, would you be worried about getting a scratch on it or a ding every time that you drive it? What about your perfect lover? Are they going to cheat on you? So you may have these other thoughts rolling around your actual desire that are pushing it away. You have to have only good emotion. Going back to what we talked about last week with alignment. Alignment starts with our emotion. Only positive emotions are what we're trying to drive towards when we're visualizing or thinking about what we so desire. So let's just say that that's happening. There's no judgment here. There's no shame. But what can we do about it? So momentarily, something that immediately we have to do is rewire the thought. We need to adjust to something that makes us feel at ease with it. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't get to create everything you desire, but in order for you to start understanding what manifestation looks like and feels like, so that when you're on the frequency, you know that you're really there. When you're in that mindset, you know that that's the one that you need to be on to begin your creations or your visualizations. Perhaps you're going to consider, let's say if you wanted the Rolls Royce, you consider a different dream car with a different price tag, or that your lover shows up in a certain way so that you don't have the fear of being cheated on or being abandoned. Because then the goal is that you're then giving the universe a clear signal. It's in complete alignment of what you want. And then you can continue to build from there. But the main thing is that the purity of the frequency or the vibration that you're sending out, you have to believe that you can actually achieve it. You have to understand that it's coming to you. So same as before, we're using our emotions to create a direct vibrational pulse towards what we desire. Because if you're thinking about, let's just say the $5 million home, and there's some type of fear or anxiety around it, whether it's maybe I won't actually achieve it and so I'm afraid of actually receiving it or even thinking about wanting it because that leaves the space for rejection, well, we can see then that we're automatically repelling what we're saying that we want to, and that's not the best way to manifest. So the key is to create the alignment by having the positive feelings attached to what you're manifesting. I said this a lot last week and you're going to hear it all over again this week because it's so important. It's a key to manifesting, is creating and attaching positive feelings and eventually only positive feelings to what you desire so that you are basically rising yourself or moving yourself to the same frequency of your desires. Now, it may take a few attempts. You got to tweak and change your intentions. But once you have that total alignment based on last week's teaching and this week's, everything is within reach and you begin to understand the personal manifesting process. All right, so this is something that we talked about in the original webinar as well, is having energy going to two places. You have to get clear. And again, this is what we're talking about all week this week, is getting clear about where your energy is going. Because if you have energy going into two places, that is not an ideal environment for manifestation to easily occur. So desiring something, that's basically what we're talking about here, is desiring something while also doubting the possibility of even having it is, to me, it's the definition of insanity. It's not going to get you anywhere. And it's also not going to allow for you to create what it is that you desire. So what that subconscious thought pattern may be saying could be in direct contradiction. So if you do have contradicting thought patterns, think about what it is that you desire right now. First thing that comes to mind, whatever that is. Let's just say that you do have contradicting thought patterns, which most likely you do because there's a reason it hasn't shown up yet. Which one is winning? Is it the one that's telling you can't have it or you can have it? Okay, so let's go over some examples and then you can start pulling some examples out of your own life so that you can be a little bit more introspective. So my desire of my perfect day was I wake up when I want, I have my coffee, I get to work out, I start work when I'm actually ready, I get to do yoga, cook a healthy dinner, and really just enjoy life. But why didn't I have it? Why did it take me so many years to create that life? 100% it was only my subconscious reel. It was my perception of what life had to look like in order to achieve that. And so my subconscious reel personally said, I have to make a lot of money to have that type of a life. And in order to make a lot of money, I have to work all the time as well, because money doesn't come easily. And if I work a lot, I'm not going to be home to enjoy the life that I say that I want. So why even go for it? I'm not going to be able to be around or be home to enjoy that. And another piece of it, when I looked at, okay, so who might have I learned those beliefs from, because I certainly wasn't born with them, was my mom and her path to success. She grinded, and kudos to her, but that wasn't what I wanted to create in my life because I saw the disconnect in hers. Example 2, this is actually from one of my clients. Desired relationship. They desired someone that they could grow with, that would push them forward, and would also be honest because they had a past of being cheated on. Now, the subconscious reel that they had, that they learned from their grandparents and their father, was relationships don't last, love is unsafe because of how vulnerable you have to be in order to be in love, and sometimes they get stagnant in relationships. They always want to grow and the other person doesn't want to grow with them, and so forth. So although they desired all of these things, their subconscious reel, or their thought patterns and beliefs about life, was in direct contradiction to giving them what they say that they wanted. So where was all of that coming from? All of the divorces that they witnessed growing up, and then they recreated them in their life based on that previous programming. So now we want to look at this. What is your reel? Now that we understand what a subconscious reel is, it's all the belief systems that you have, that you acquired growing up or through certain circumstances in life. Again, go back to right now, first thing that comes to mind, what do you desire most in this moment? And it's good to write these things down, guys. Next, ask yourself, why do you not have it? Why do you believe you do not have it? And most likely your belief is not correct, but what is the belief system that you've been telling yourself, possibly prior to working with me, but what is the reason that you do not have that? What are the rules that you set around it? And it can be that someone told you you're not allowed to, you're not good enough, you have to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe you saw that, your mom didn't get it. You've got to look at what are the rules and parameters that you set around the thing that you say that you want the most. Or maybe you created the opposite rules of what you grew up with. But in some way, if you do not have what you desire, there's contradiction. There's an energy that is repelling, is pushing that away. Okay, so now intuition, that internal compass that you have, you've got to check in. Does that method or belief system work for you? Why are you holding on to it? What is it doing for you? Obviously, it's not working for you, or you would have what you desire. So the beliefs that you hold surrounding that thing, or the emotional energy that you have around that thing, is exactly why you don't have it. So you are living in someone else's belief system. So technically, it is flawed. Your belief system around that thing is flawed because it's not yours. So let's break down the blueprint. What is the blueprint of the how that you are telling yourself you have to do or be in order to receive the desire? What does that look like? Write that down right now, or think through that. I suggest writing everything down, but what is the story that you're telling yourself as to why you haven't achieved something? It's not because you're not good enough, but figure out what the story is. I'll give you a minute. Okay, so let's talk about what happens when your subconscious reel is on a roll. Basically what happens when you start letting your programming take over and it's telling you thoughts and creating realities, as soon as you have some type of stimuli, energy is going elsewhere. And usually it's an attempt to protect the self. However, it's doing so incorrectly. And because of this programming, it's based on the past or it's other belief systems, which again, those are also programming. It's just programming from someone else's programming, who's from someone else's programming. So you're not getting where you're trying to go, and you're not being authentic in your alignment with being able to manifest your truest desires. So let's talk about certainty mindset, and that ties into what we just said. So humans strive for comfort and safety. Basic human need is to feel certain. And it doesn't even mean that they want to feel certain about something that is good for them. It's just that they want certainty. We see this with individuals who God forbid they get kidnapped. And then they actually start craving the need to feel like they are in captivity. And it's not because it's good for them, but it is familiar. So our programming is messing us up because it's creating this new familiarity, but it's not actually serving us well. So this does not mean the need for certainty is even healthy or serving us well in most cases, but it is one thing we can count on it. We're looking for things that we can count on, things that look and feel familiar in order for us to feel safe and know that we are reaching a certain state of certainty. So you've got to look at this. This is something that you want to write down. Where in your life are you living out of certainty and safety? Where in your life? It can be your career, money, relationships. I know for myself, for a long time, it was purpose work. I was running away from my purpose work because I was afraid that it was going to be an up and down roller coaster ride. So you got to look at in the areas of your life where you're living out of certainty and safety, because maybe there is an area where you're like, that's serving me well, but you have to be really honest with yourself. And most often when you're living in safety, you're not growing, you're not expanding out into the universe. You have to see, is it serving you or is it hurting you? Because the safety zone is exactly where we die. So let's dig into programming. Here's one type. It's called fear programming. It's those moments when you feel you really want to do or think one way, but your parents or maybe your spouse, your friends will shame you, or in some way you're wrong in their eyes. Now, the reward is perceived to be received in one way. So it's the belief that in order to be happy or successful or loved or have the $5 million home or whatever, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And X was taught to you by someone, Y was inherited by another, and Z you learned through a single experience in the past. So basically you're constantly living either in the past or through someone else's experience and the programming that you received along the way. So you're not using your intuition, which means that you're not in alignment, which means that it's going to be really difficult for you to manifest what you'd like. So how does programming begin? Basically, intention or emotions, they almost leave like energetic stamps. Let's say like there's a word. When I say the word death, there is a frequency attached to it. And sometimes people have different understandings of what death means to them, but they do have an innate frequency that immediately resonates for them. But it's based on previous experience or what they believe and perceive for death to be, meaning they're not experiencing it in the now. So it carries with that thing if it's a powerful enough experience. So if it was traumatic or something of the sort. So it can even be transferred from person to person. So let's say that I explain how that thing is or how it affected me in my life. And as I'm explaining it, I am sending off a vibration that passes through you. And then you create an understanding about it. Now, if you're living consciously, based on alignment that we learned last week, you're going to say, and understand, okay, that's not something that really resonates with me, so I'm going to honor where Mandy's at and how she perceives that experience, but I'm not going to take it as my new programming or my new norm and belief system, because if I go around thinking that that's that way, it's not going to serve me in creating what I want out of life. So now here is the kicker. Programming is everywhere, and it likely controls your entire belief system unless you've broken it already. So that means that your mother's beliefs, your idea about what love should look like, how you should show up in the world, what success looks like, they're not even coming from you. They're coming from what others have told and taught you intentionally and also unintentionally. Your mother wants you to be safe, so she's going to tell you certain things, and she's going to perceive the world a certain way because she cares about you and she cares about your safety. But she may also be putting a lot of thoughts of fear or unrealistic ideas into your head, and now you're living from that place of fear. And again, we don't want to be living from fear. We want to be living from love. So all of these thoughts are coming from what others have told you and taught you, and it's like putting 1,000 end puzzle pieces together. It's just not going to fit. We want to build our own puzzle. So what we touched on last week, what are your current belief systems around relationships, career? These are all things that you're going to want to write down or continue on if you haven't already. Money, sex, love and connection with others. And then we're going to take it a step further and start looking at who else in your life has those same beliefs. Who did you possibly inherit those beliefs from? All right, so going back to the very beginning when we were talking about some of the science behind manifestation, this is all about our gray matter. That's what we're working on when we talk about the subconscious real and our programming. So now that you understand what you look like via programming, based on what we just did previously, where we look at all of our belief systems around all of these different things, and those belief systems run your subconscious real, now we can look at working on the gray matter so that we can shift out of that. So let's create a new and better serving version while we are actually in our clarity. We want to start doing this now. So these are all, again, things that you want to write down. You want to contemplate. How does a better version of you handle love? Or, the version of you that you would like to be. Now that you understand your current belief systems, who would you like to be? What would you like to look like? What feels light to you? What feels like it's coming from love? How does a better version of you handle finding happiness, finding money, whatever it is that you desire? And how do they react when others try to impose themselves on a better version? So when someone's trying to throw programming at you, how does that person react when you had that combative motion? Again, let's just say that your mother has raised you a certain way and you have certain belief systems from your parents. And if you were to contradict them, well, then you're going to lose love and connection from your parents. And you don't want to do that because you're afraid of losing the love from your mom. But how would the better version of you still stand in your truth while also being able to have your own thought processes? So you got to create something that makes you feel light and be proactive. Know how you're going to handle that stuff when it comes up. So what other ways mold gray matter to our liking? Mindfulness. Mindfulness is incredible. This is just like we were talking about last week. So working through our activities each week and understanding your current relationship with your thought patterns is practicing mindfulness. Understanding how to live consciously in how am I feeling in this moment. Being able to be aware of that is huge in being able to manipulate your gray matter. Because again, gray matter is that part of your brain that's all about subconscious. It reacts to stimuli immediately based on programming. It's exactly what it does. So if something comes in, your brain interprets it and sends something out, but it happens on a subconscious level. The cool thing about gray matter is that you can manipulate it. So over time, you can say, this is going to be my new reaction to when this happens. So when I'm trying to move towards what I want to manifest in life, well, now my brain knows when something comes in sideways and tries to knock me down, that I keep moving forward instead of completely getting thrown off track and having to start over. A huge way as well, and there's actually science behind this, to mold gray matter is meditation. I got a quote here, and I absolutely love this quote. It is fascinating to see the brain's plasticity, and that by practicing meditation, we can play an active role in changing the brain and can increase our well-being and quality of life. Now, I want to stop right there. When you increase your well-being and quality of life, what's happening to your vibrational state? It's rising. When you're happy, you're at a very high vibrational state. And what happens when you're at a high vibrational state? One, you have clarity. And what is the byproduct of clarity is two, your ability to manifest, to be aware of what you're feeling and what you're sending off in that moment. So by changing our well-being, we begin to create alignment, thus releasing ourselves from the stress of programming, resulting in pure frequencies emitting outwardly from ourselves, which what I call is simple manifesting abilities. It makes it much more simple. So to wrap all this up, basically you focus and the universe amplifies. So whatever you are focusing on, we hear this all the time. This is simple manifestation technique, but we've explained the science behind it and why it's so important. When you focus, the universe amplifies. So that means that no matter what you're thinking about, the universe doesn't care if it's positive or if it's negative, but the universe will expand it outwardly and give it back to you. So if you're not creating what you'd like, you're not currently a vibrational match for what you're asking for. So we need to focus and we need to feel. Now, a huge piece of this is something that we just have to remind ourselves. If you're the type who wants something to happen right away, you want to see results immediately, that will happen over time. As you begin to create more alignment, more authenticity in your life, your vibrational state is going to become more and more true to who you are, true to your genuine desires. But you've got to look at it like this. You don't plant an apple tree and think that you're going to eat apples by tomorrow. So you've got to understand the true relationship to creation, especially when it comes to material things. So focus and feel, focus on the emotion, focus on what you want, and tie the two together so that you can feel the feeling of having the thing or achieving the certain circumstance that you're looking for in your life. So this week there is no homework. Some of you are still working through last week's materials, so I want you to take your time. I want you to go through it. maybe even break up the webinar to a few minutes a day if needed. For those of you who are, I know a few of you are actually going back and re-listening to it. So break it up a few minutes of a day and just take a bite at a time. Let me know how you're doing with the information, and just allow for it all to kind of be absorbed, and then revisit it when you need to. Also, I'm going to do a Q&A video. I know a few of you have been private messaging me with questions, and I will compile those questions as they come up and do a video at the end of the week. So if you do have any questions, post them up in the group, or also private message me so that I know where you're standing, how you're feeling about the material, and if there's any areas that aren't clicking, or if you're just doing 100%. Either way, I want to hear it. All right, y'all. In case no one's told you today, I love you.